K-pop is a fast-paced industry and new groups debut every day. It can be easy for some of them to blow up and gain a huge amount of popularity, but it's not that easy maintaining this popularity. Stans often throw the word fell off around, claiming many groups fell off, but even if some of them actually fall off because they lose the momentum and end up fading in the background, plenty of other groups that Stans say fell off actually didn't fall off at all. So in this video we will be comparing groups that actually fell off and other groups that are actually doing pretty well are still pretty much relevant. An example of a group that fell off is momoland. Momoland are kind of one-hit wonders. Technically they hit 2 hits, Boom Boom and Bam, but you get what I mean. They were really on the way to become one of the biggest girl groups, but unfortunately their company hasn't been the best at managing them, and most importantly, all of the hate they got and all of the attitude scandals really took a toll on them and made so many people drift away from the group. This always happens whenever a group from a small agency starts getting big. There's always someone ready to bring them down because God forbid momoland could become more famous than their faves. All the hate against them and the company poorly managing their activities led them to lose so much of the initial hype they got, and now I don't think they'll ever be able to gain it back. Itzy. Some people say Itzy will never top Dalla Dalla. Some people say they reached their peak with Wannabe and some people say their music got worse and worse with each comeback. But despite that, Itzy are one of those groups that are too big to fail. They're from JYP. They're so fucking popular. They will never fall off. They will always be one of the most relevant girl groups no matter what you all say. I don't even stan Itzy, but I swear, a lot of you just really want to see these girls failing so bad, all because of jealousy. That's why you will always throw the term fall off around when it comes to them. It is true that they're not charting as well as they used to, but still, their sales are big. Their hype is even bigger. They just won't fall off. Get over it. Pentagon. I don't know that much about them, but I know they were the biggest new sensation when they released Shine. Everything was promising. It really was. And then the Hyuna and Dawn scandal happened and he left the group, which damaged the group as a whole since he was the most popular member. But this is not the only reason. I also think that a lot has to do with the fact that their other title tracks were simply not hitting as much as Shine did. Some groups are not able to replicate the success they have with the following comebacks, and unfortunately Pentagon is an example. They aren't talked about as much as they deserve, their talents are not being recognized as much as they should, and they just overall fell off of people's radars. stayc. This might be unpopular but I actually don't think they fell off, simply because it takes more than one comeback flopping to say a group fell off. stayc had 3 consecutive hits with aespa, Stereotype and Run to You. So just because Beautiful Monster didn't perform well on the charts it doesn't mean anything. Now, if their next comebacks keep on flying under the radar, then they might start falling off for real, but it's too soon to tell, and I'm honestly sure they will put out many more bops that will get just as much hype as ASAP. Weekly were on the way to becoming one of the biggest girl groups of 4th gen, receiving so much praise since debut and exploding in popularity with their second comeback after school. If you asked anyone back in 2020 what they thought Weekly's future was gonna look like, everyone would have said their future was surely gonna be bright and they would only do better and better with time. Sadly this wasn't true. None of Weekly's following comebacks managed to capture people's interest as much as After School did. Some groups are too big to fail and it doesn't matter if they can't replicate their previous success with their following releases. They will still be super popular. But this is not the case for Weekly. They would have needed to solidify their status more to become too big to fail, but unfortunately they were never able to, because their fame started declining before they could really make a name for themselves. Twice. I can't believe I really have to say this but no, Twice didn't fall off. I always laugh when people say Twice fell off. They might not chart as well as they did in their previous years. Their last couple of comebacks might have been a miss with the general public. They might have been outcharted by rookies like New Jeans and IVE. But so what? They're the second biggest girl group in the whole K-pop industry after Blackpink. You are so ridiculous if you could possibly think they will ever fall off. I don't even stan them, but I'm not lying when I say they have accomplished so much and are so relevant that they no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Cherry Bullet. Believe it or not, Cherry Bullet was one of the most anticipated rookies in 2019. Not only they were from FNC Entertainment, but they also had insane visuals that got people's attention ever since pre-debut. And of course, the hit Hyun, who has participated in Produce 48 and even made it to the final episode. There were many reasons as to why people were excited for them to debut, and when they finally did, people were super happy with their concept. It was a video game concept that looked very original. However, people didn't like their following comeback as much, and the group also progressively started losing their original concept. However, not all hope was lost. In fact, they had their biggest hit in 2020 with Hands Up. That song was everywhere and it was considered one of the best of the year. Everything was looking good again for the girls. But unfortunately their company mismanaged them so much that they even had to send some members on Girls Planet to try and save the group. But the company never was able to capitalize on the fame they got from Girls Planet nor the fame they got from their successful songs. So now the girls are super underrated, super mismanaged and pretty much at risk of disbanding. aespa. People say they fell off for the same reasons as itzy, because you claim their music got worse, and they were never able to replicate Savage and Next Level's success. But just like I said for itzy, they're way too big to fail. Yes, maybe they reached their peak with Savage and Next Level, maybe they will never top those songs, but how can you say they fell off when they're one of the biggest groups out there? Some of you need to understand that it's very hard for big four groups to flop and fall off. Yes, it can happen, and yes, it has happened in the past, but it's such a small percentage. EXID, as many of you probably know, EXID were on the verge of disbanding, but then Honey's fandom for Up and Down blew up, making everyone tune in. I have to say that the company did what they had to do to try and capitalize on their sudden popularity. I don't think EXID has been mismanaged or anything. I think they fell off because of some unfortunate events. First of all, their leader Solji had health issues that forced her to sit out of promotions for quite a few comebacks. Many people thought she was gonna leave the group, but luckily she got better and was able to join her members for what would have been EXID's second-to-last comeback. The second-to-last comeback before a long hiatus. They had a comeback with Me and You in 2018. Then they had a Japanese debut that they didn't promote at all, and they only came back now. But we still don't know if they are gonna have other comebacks in the future. This 4-year-long hiatus killed the hype. They're still quite popular, don't get me wrong, but we can say they fell off if we take into consideration how popular they used to be. Sserafim. Because of the Garam scandal, many people started saying how Sserafim fell off, and I mean, their image has kind of been tainted after the scandal, but not that much. Definitely not as much as some haters are claiming. I don't keep up with Sserafim that closely, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Fearless is still charting quite decently. Yes, it doesn't have the chart longevity of songs like Tomboy, Love Dive, 11, After Like, Attention and Hype Boy, but still, it's still charting fairly well considering it came out 5 months ago. Not to mention they're gearing up for a comeback and everybody seems pretty hyped for it. So if they really fell off like some of you claim, their comeback wouldn't be making any noise. In conclusion, we can say the scandal kinda took a toll on them, but luckily not as much as I expected. Okay guys, this was my opinion regarding K-pop groups that I think fell off and groups who did not. Let me know if you agree, and if there are other groups you wanna talk about, feel free to do so in the comment section. That's it for now. See you in the next video.